This is the unluckiest man in the world. Do you know his name, or why he is the unluckiest person in the world? I'm going to tell you in just a minute, but first, imagine this. You made a simple decision to buy Apple stock when it was only 93 cents a share in 1994. As of this writing, the current price of one share of Apple is $128.66 per share. Let's use July 6, 1994 as an example. On that date, the price of Apple's stock was 93 cents per share. Adjusted for the following stock splits: 2 for 1 on June 21st, 2000, 2 for 1 February 28th of 2005, and 7 for 1 June 9th of 2014, $1,000 worth of Apple stock on July 6th, 1994 would have been equivalent to 1,064 stock split adjusted shares. 1,064 shares times the current market price of $128.66 would equal a portfolio value of $136,894, or an increase of 13,589%. Stick with me here. Compounded annually, that is nearly a 30% return each and every year for nearly 20 years. Far better than the interest your bank pays you, that's for sure. Now, how would you like to have them apples? It's a nice chunk of change. Just imagine if you had invested $100,000 in Apple stock in 1994 instead of $1,000. Today, it would be worth, well, considerably more. Let's just say you would never have to work again and you could probably live very comfortably for the rest of your life. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, as the old saying goes. This is very similar to what happened to the man I showed you earlier. His name is Ron Wayne, except he caught the wrong end of the bargain. He had a 10% ownership stake in Apple. Yet, because of poor timing, you aren't going to believe this, he sold it for $800. A 10% stake in arguably the most successful company in the world, and he sold it for $800. Don't believe in luck? It's okay. See, it's not about luck. It's not bad luck that did this to him. It was that he didn't understand the power of timing. He fell victim to poor timing. Wayne left Apple because he found Jobs difficult to work with. He describes Jobs as stubborn, cold, argumentative. He effectively convinced himself he couldn't work with Jobs, and he let Jobs' personality overpower him. Wayne left Apple after he felt that Jobs' decision to splash over $1,500 on parts for a product was ill-advised. And get this, in the next few years, Jobs and Wozniak invited him back to rejoin the firm, yet Ron declined. Now let's break for a moment. Let's remember what the good book says. For there is a time and a way for everything, although man's trouble lies heavily on him. That's Ecclesiastes 8:6. It's not luck, it's timing. Ron is a perfect example of self-loathing and allowing timing to slip from his control. Bottom line, timing decides whether you are lucky or unlucky. And in Ron's case, he had multiple chances for taking advantage of timing. Unfortunately, he didn't see it. He knew no better. How could he do better? Let me break this down again, because it's likely you've been through situations similar to this, where you've told yourself, if I had only done this instead, if I'd only done that instead, and then you throw it back to bad luck. Try to suppress your own disappointment of the situation. Now imagine this. Think hard about the possibilities if you could create your own luck and never make poorly timed decisions like Ron did ever again. If you could have perfect timing all the time, know exactly when to buy, sell, short, all for maximum profit. And this strategy I'll reveal to you in a moment doesn't just apply to the stock market. It can be applied to all wakes of life and business. Real quick now, because I know you're wondering, my name is Richard Reagan, and I am the senior analyst and co-publisher at the Iron Wing. You may know us from our sterling track record advising readers on important financial and health matters. We have hundreds of thousands of followers in over 100 countries around the world. Now back to it. Imagine again knowing exactly when to make a decision that you know will always be the right decision because you've timed it correctly. Sounds good, right? Yes, though I'm sure it sounds unlikely to you right now too, but give me a minute to explain. See, there is a system that you can implement today from the comfort of your own home that allows you to use time to your advantage. Today, in this short webinar, I'm going to take you back in time. I'll show you how powerful leaders and business titans of times past, like Napoleon, Caesar, Rothschild, have used timing to their clear advantage with these long-hidden and known only by a few timing secrets. Here's a quote for you from Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France. He said, quote, "Space we can recover, time we can never," end quote. I'm going to share with you 3 core components of this underground timing system used by some of the most successful businessmen and investors of all time. Here's what I'll discuss. 1. Long time. 2. Forced time. 3. End time. And I'll explain each of those in detail here shortly, but first I need to give you some background. The idea of time is such a mystery. It is said to be an artificial concept attributed to the limitless of eternity. We can't explain for sure what it is, yet we know its significance in our lives. Time is gold, as the famous saying goes. Joseph Fausch, Napoleon's cunning Ministry of Police, was a master of timing. He had an uncanny sense of timing. His sense of timing proved to be in his advantage after multiple occasions of escaping imprisonment and even death. He started off as a revolutionary, became a moderate, then a radical. He served King Louis XVIII during his reign, then served Napoleon when his new citizen army were beginning to close in on Paris to take over. To say it simpler, he kept switching sides. He was skilled, and he knew how to move, and of course, when to move. Fausch's story offers 3 lessons, of which we can relate to the principles of the systems I'll discuss later. First is that you must always work with the spirit of the times. It is of key importance that you anticipate what is about to happen so that you can plan the perfect time to make your next move. Second, prevailing winds do not always require that you run with them. If there is prevailing conflict or turmoil, it is not always best that we ride with it. You must anticipate what the effects of it would be by taking any action. Third, you must have remarkable patience. Patience is your best ally. Waiting may seem irritable, yet it's worth it, because in the end, you will get something significant to your advantage. And since you have constructed the concept of time in your favor, you are also able to mold it to some degree, to play tricks with it. The ability to do this is a tremendous gift, so you must always learn to use it wisely and to your benefit. You must never let go to whatever time brings. Allowing time to control you is a fatal move. You must be the one guiding time instead of the other way around. If you can do this, time will surely carry you to power, wealth, and happiness. Let me stop now and summarize further. I know this is a lot to take in, so let me break it down another way. The idea of timing can be easily associated to the game of chess. Patiently, you wait before making your move. You carefully set up your pieces, moving them on the free squares, not going for the opponent's king too quickly, yet strategically removing his rooks and then his bishops, setting him up. Finally, when things are going as the way they should be, you quickly strike. Checkmate! Chess is really all about the art of timing. You devise your plan, patiently set up your pieces for your final move, and when the time comes, you surprise your challenger. Time can be with you, or time can be against you. If you don't act quickly enough, or if you act too impulsively, it may spell out doom. It's not your fault. Bad timing has affected you in the past. You didn't know any better. Napoleon's defeat at the Battle of Waterloo can be said to be a result of bad timing on his part. The night before the battle, it rained. The heavy guns sank, and they could not properly charge the enemy on the wet field. Also, it was bad timing for the French when Blücher arrived on time to back up the English. Time itself is the only resource which each man equally has. The trick here is to be in control of your emotions and thus in control of your time. That is why value investing is such a successful strategy that mega-rich investors like Warren Buffett have taken advantage of for years. All strategic moves with pristine timing. Are you seeing this yet? Timing is the key. Now, let's get to the system. How you can stop blaming bad luck for all the problems you have and take power and control over time. Step 1. Long time. The famous 17th century Ming painter, Shaoyang, relates a story that altered his behavior forever. Late one winter afternoon, he set out to visit a town that lay across the river from his own town. He was bringing some important books and papers with him and had commissioned a young boy to help him carry them. As the ferry neared the other side of the river, Shoyoung asked the boatmen if they would have time to get to the town before its gates closed, since it was a mile away and night was approaching. The boatman glanced at the boy and at the bundle of loosely tied papers and books. "Yes," he replied, "if you do not walk too fast." As they started out, however, the sun was setting. Afraid of being locked out of town that night, prey to the local bandits, Shao and the boy walked faster and faster, finally breaking into a run. Suddenly, the string around the papers broke and the documents scattered all over the ground. It took them many minutes to put the packet back together, and by the time they had reached the city gates, it was too late. When you force the pace out of fear and impatience, you create a nest of problems that require fixing, and you wind up taking much longer than if you had just taken your time. Hurriers may occasionally get there quicker, but papers fly everywhere. New dangers arise, and they find themselves in constant crisis mode, mostly fixing the problems they created from rushing. Sometimes not acting in the face of danger is your best move. You wait, you deliberately slow down. As time passes, it will eventually present opportunities you had not imagined. Waiting involves controlling not only your own emotions, but those of your colleagues, who, mistaken action for power, may try to push you into making rash moves. If so, it will be you alone picking up the pieces. This wise policy was the principal strategy of the great early 17th century Emperor Tokugawa Ieyasu of Japan. When his predecessor, the headstrong Hideyoshi, whom he had served as general, staged a rash invasion of Korea, Ieyasu did not involve himself. He knew the invasion would be a disaster and would lead to Hideyoshi's downfall. Better to stand patiently on the sidelines even for many years, and then be in position to seize power when the time is right. That's exactly what Ieyasu did, with great artistry, I might add. You do not deliberately slow time down to live longer, or to take more pleasure in the moment, yet to better play the game of timing and power. First, when your mind is uncluttered by constant emergencies, you will see further into the future. Second, you will be able to resist the baits that people dangle in front of you and will keep yourself from becoming another impatient sucker. Third, you will have more room to be flexible. Opportunities will inevitably arise that you have not expected and would have missed had you forced the pace. Fourth, you will not move from one deal to the next without completing the first one. To build your timing powers foundation can take years. Make sure the foundation is secure. Don't be a flash in the pan. Success that is built up slowly and surely is the only kind that lasts. And finally, slowing time down will give you a perspective of the times you live in, letting you take a certain distance and putting you in a less emotionally charged position to see the shape of things to come. Hurriers will often mistake surface phenomena for a real trend, seeing only what they want to see. How much better to see what is really happening, even if it's unpleasant or makes your task harder. Step 2. Forced time. The trick in forcing time is to upset the timing of others, to make them hurry, to make them wait, to make them abandon their own pace, to distort their perception of time. By upsetting the timing of your opponent or industry while you stay patient, you open up time for yourself, which is half the game. In 1473, the great Turkish Sultan, Mehmed the Conqueror, invited negotiations with Hungary to end the off-and-on war the two countries had waged for years. When the Hungarian emissary arrived in Turkey to start the talks, Turkish officials humbly apologized. Mehmed had just left Istanbul, the capital, to battle his longtime foe, Uzun Hasan. Yet he urgently wanted peace with Hungary and had asked that the emissary join him at the front. When the emissary arrived at the site of the fighting, Mehmed had already left it, moving eastward in pursuit of his swift foe. This happened several times. Whenever the emissary stopped, the Turks lavished gifts and banquets on him in pleasurable but time-consuming ceremonies. Finally, Mehmed defeated Uzun and met with the emissary. Yet his terms for peace with Hungary were excessively harsh. After a few days, the negotiations ended, and the usual stalemate remained in place, but that was fine with Mehmed. In fact, he had planned it that way all along. Plotting his campaign against Uzun, He had seen that diverting his armies to the east would leave his western flank vulnerable. To prevent Hungary from taking advantage of his weaknesses and his preoccupation elsewhere, he first dangled the lure of peace before his enemy, then made them wait, all on his own terms. Making people wait is a powerful way of forcing time, as long as they do not figure out what you are up to. You control the clock, they linger in limbo, and rapidly become unglued, opening up opportunities for you to strike. The opposite effect is equally powerful. You make your opponents hurry. Start off your dealings with them slowly, then suddenly apply pressure, making them feel that everything is happening all at once. People who lack the time to think will make mistakes, so set their deadlines for them. Joseph Duveen, the famous art dealer, knew that if he gave an indecisive buyer like John D. Rockefeller a deadline, claiming that the painting had to leave the country or another tycoon was interested in it, Rockefeller would buy just in time and at a premium. Freud noticed that patients who had spent years in psychoanalysis without improvement would miraculously recover just in time if he fixed a definite date for the end of the therapy. Jacques Lacan, the famous French psychoanalyst, used a variation of this tactic. He would sometimes end the customary 4-hour session of therapy only after 10 minutes without warning. After this happened several times, the patient would realize that he had better make maximum use of the time rather than wasting much of an hour with a lot of talk that meant nothing. The deadline, then, is a powerful tool. Close off the vistas of indecision and force people to make up their damn minds or get to the point. Never let them make you play on their excruciating terms. Never give them time. Magicians and showmen are experts in forcing time. Houdini could wiggle free of handcuffs in minutes, but he would draw the escape out to an hour, making the audience sweat as time came to an apparent standstill. Magicians have always known that the best way to alter our perception of time is to often slow the pace down. Creating suspense brings time to a terrifying pause. The slower the magician's hands move, the easier it is to create the illusion of speed, making people think the rabbit has appeared instantaneously. The great 19th century magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin took explicit notice of this effect. He said, quote, "The more slowly a story is told, the shorter it seems," end quote. Going slower also makes what you are doing more interesting. The audience yields to your pace and becomes entranced. It is a state in which time whizzes delightfully by. You must practice such illusions which share in the hypnotist's power to alter perceptions of time. Step 3. End time. You can take advantage of timing using the utmost artistry, waiting patiently for the right moment to act, putting your competitors off their form by messing with their timing, but it won't mean a thing unless you know how to finish. Don't be one of those people who look like paragons of patience, yet are actually just afraid to bring things to a close. Patience is worthless unless combined with a willingness to fall ruthlessly on your opponent or target at the right moment. You can wait as long as necessary for the conclusion to come, but when it comes, it must come quickly. Use speed to paralyze your opponent. Cover up any mistakes you might make and impress people with your aura of authority and finality. With the patience of a snake charmer, you draw the snake out with calm and steady rhythms. Once the snake is out, would you dangle your foot above its deadly head? No. There is never a good reason to allow the slightest hitch in your end game. Your mastery of timing can really only be judged by how you work with end time, how you quickly change the pace and bring things to a swift and definitive conclusion. Envision a hawk. Patiently and silently it circles the sky, high above, all-seeing with its powerful eyes. Those below have no awareness that they are being tracked. Suddenly, when the moment arrives, the hawk swoops down with a speed that cannot be defended against. Before its prey knows what has happened, the bird's vice-like talons have carried it up into the sky. Julius Caesar said, quote, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune." William Shakespeare said, "Omitted all the voyage of their life is bound in swallows and in miseries." Richard the Lion-Hearted faced the army of Saladin at Arsuf in 1191. He was outnumbered 3-1 by a force of mostly mounted troops. Facing the army in a pitched battle would be suicide, and instead Richard formed a defensive perimeter with his back to a river and waited, while under constant and heavy missile attack from early morning till mid-afternoon. His tactic was to wait for Saladin to get impatient and give up some kind of advantage, and after hours of constant missile attack, he was given his chance. Saladin, thinking that the Crusaders weren't going to move for days, ordered his men off their mounts so they could better fire their missiles, eventually moving closer to the Crusader position. Upon seeing this, Richard ordered his heavy cavalry to charge, disseminating the unmounted enemy and winning the battle. Perfect strategic timing. Listen, there will always be a run of bad timing while you learn how to use this system effectively. This is normal, and actually more important than your good timing in the early phases. Bad timing teaches valuable lessons about patience and the need to be prepared for the worst. Good luck deludes you into the opposite lesson, making you think your brilliance will carry you through. Your fortune will inevitably turn, and when it does, you will be completely unprepared. According to Machiavelli, this is what undid Cesare Borgia. He had many triumphs, was actually a clever strategist, but had the bad timing to have good timing. He had a pope for a father. Then, when he had a run of bad timing, his father's death, he was unprepared for it, and the many enemies he had made devoured him. The good timing that elevates you or seals your success brings that one moment in which you must open your eyes. If you prepare for the fall, it is less likely to ruin you when it happens. People who have a run of success can catch a kind of fever, and even when they themselves try to stay calm, the people below them often pressure them to go past their mark and into dangerous waters. You have to have a strategy for dealing with these people. Simply preaching moderation will make you look weak and small-minded, seeming to fail to follow timing and power. When the Athenian general and statesman Pericles led a series of naval campaigns around the Black Sea in 436 BC, his easy triumphs inflamed the Athenians' desire for more. They dreamed of conquering Egypt, overrunning Persia, sailing for Sicily. On the one hand, Pericles reined in these dangerous emotions by warning of the perils of hubris. On the other hand, he fed them by fighting small battles that he knew he could win, creating the appearance that he was preserving the momentum of success. The skill with which Pericles played this game is revealed by what happened when he died. The demagogues took over, pushed Athens into invading Sicily, and in one rash move, destroyed an empire. You see, it's up to you to protect your own American dream. Use timing to your advantage to succeed and protect yourself. That beautiful freedom we work so hard for all of our lives, if we don't defend it, nobody else will. This is why the Iron Wing exists. Think of us as your own personal special forces squad. We've got your back in every situation because we know that our right to true freedom is something that we have to fight for and defend all the time. We are the Iron Wing, your own private battalion, your trusted personal retirement defense unit. Okay? In perilous times like these, when even your own government may seem to have turned against you, we are your patriot brothers standing at the ready to defend and grow your financial well-being and wealth beyond any measure you might have ever thought possible. Ready to protect your health and your family's health as if it were our own. We are ready to steer you safely through financial ambushes and current politically spawned minefields. When no one else is looking out for you, you can rest easy knowing that we are always beside you in the trenches. After all these battles are won together, we will help you live life to the fullest and enjoy the rich spoils of your victories. We are the Iron Wing, and we've always got your six. So what can you do? As the average Joe fighting to protect his lifestyle, his hard-earned money, his freedom, how do you go about protecting yourself? Well, we've got you covered. We've created what we think of as a flak jacket. With our flak jacket, we've put together 3 mastery reports aimed at doing exactly what you'd imagine a flak jacket would do. Make you completely bulletproof. And that's the great news. But we've gone one further too. Not only is the flak jacket going to help you make damn sure you're impervious to all the threats in the modern world, it'll also show you how to fight back, like a flak jacket holstered with a big chrome 45. How to be more successful, how to make more money, how to save more money. Basically, how to outmaneuver the current threats and go from being defensive and cowering for your life, like almost everybody will be, and instead put yourself in a position of power and advantage. What does that mean to you? It means you welcome the coming economic turmoil. You will laugh at it because you'll know exactly what to do, immediately change your fortunes, and become many times wealthier. The first devastatingly powerful report is called Midas Touch. Why? Because it's about gold and how the savvy investor can leverage gold to multiply their fortune many times over. It is written by our resident alchemist, Benjamin Gilpin, and we humbly believe this to be the most useful and comprehensive report on profiting from gold that's currently available. Ben's a thorough guy. Inside this report, you're going to see an analysis of gold markets going back thousands of years. And you'll also see everything broken down into geography, geopolitics, finance, and everything else you can possibly imagine. In this astonishing report, you're going to discover the one major influence on the price of gold in 2015 and 2016. If you understand this, you'll know whether the price will stick, rise, or fall. And most importantly, you'll know when. The 100% legal, sneaky, yet ethical loophole that lets you quickly and easily make more money from your gold investments than the gold is actually worth. Which gold companies to avoid like the Black Plague, and the ones that are actually safe and worthwhile. Hint, there's only one of these, and it's not the one everybody else thinks it is. How to calculate the magic number. Now that's the price per ounce of gold that indicates it's safe to go big into gold mining stocks again. What the global warming arguments mean for your gold prices, and how to profit comfortably, whatever happens. The little-known law recently passed in the Indian subcontinent that could mean gold prices the world over dramatically increase or fall, and why. How the continued collapse of European banks affects the reliability of gold as we move forward, and how you can make the right move before the rest of the world catches on. This is literally the most detailed report on the state of gold and the viability of it as a wealth creation and wealth sustenance machine available on our planet today. We are clearly facing difficult times ahead with our economy, and heck, everything's so entwined these days, even the global economy will be affected. Gold may well be our number one weapon in preserving our wealth or quickly multiplying it, yet it will absolutely depend on timing. And without understanding why things are happening and being able to spot the correct signals, we'll basically be shooting in the dark. You see, in the financial markets, remember, timing is everything. Timing is the difference between unimaginable riches and begging on a street corner. Look at my earlier example. Ronald Wayne, who sold his 10% stake in Apple in 1976 for $800. And today, that same 10% stake would be worth about $74 billion. That'd be enough to make him the second richest man in the world. But poor Ronald didn't have us in his corner to help him with his timing. You do. Without knowing exactly what to do and when to do it, gold could easily become your enemy in the coming challenging economic times, though we won't let that happen. And those challenging times are exactly why we put together the next report, and it's called the Financial Freedom Plan. And it gives you 12 quick steps to get altitude and gain enough traction to guarantee yourself and your loved ones the future you know you all deserve. Think of it as having your own captive financial planner, except he won't be some faceless guy working in a brokerage solely to make as much commissions from you as he possibly can. And once you start reading this powerful report, you'll see how useful that can be. First of all, you'll see the detailed breakdown of why it's not too late for you to get started creating residual income and assets right now, no matter how old you are. And we're not just saying that in some kind of BS show of happy, crappy political correctness. No, we're saying it because it's true, and we'll even show you how to do it. It's all about following some very specific steps, and these are rugged, proven steps that work even in the harshest market situations. You see, to make sure that's the case, we've got our resident bear veteran, Mike Zeth, to write it. Mike's what the youngsters call an old school guy. But we don't think of him that way. We just think of him as a straight shooter because he's going to tell you the truth. No sugarcoating, no matter how hard it might be for you to hear it. Mike's been in your position. He thought he was sitting pretty and very nicely prepared in 1987 when the stock market crash hit. He wasn't. Mike lost 60% of everything he'd worked his entire life to create because of poor timing, and was left with no idea how to rebuild from scratch. Thankfully for us, he quickly learned how to not only rebuild, but to bulletproof himself from that ever happening again by mastering good timing. Fast forward to today, and Mike's been through 3 different bear markets. He knows exactly how to insulate himself, and now you too, from that ever happening again. In the Financial Freedom Plan, you're going to discover how to use the top 13 little-known tips from Warren Buffett to clean up and quickly accelerate your nest egg building, no matter how old you are. The real way to figure out exactly how much you need saved and invested for you to retire safely without having to worry about every penny. How to get more interest out of your current savings starting today. Why you shouldn't trust most financial advisors with monopoly money, let alone real money, and how to weed through the haystack and find the few trustworthy guys that are out there, and much, much more. This astonishing report shows you exactly what you should be doing from now on to build yourself the robust, well-lived retirement that you've been working towards your entire life. And it doesn't matter if currently you don't have a single penny saved. Mike is going to show you where to start with maximum impact, even if you don't feel like you can spare anything at all. Trust me, this is how we'll build your fortune. We start now, as in right now, tonight, okay? Now, I'm going to hit you with a solid, insurmountable truth. During turbulent economic times like the ones we're about to be thrust up against, many people lose their shirts. Most people, in fact, and it's not pretty to witness, and it's even harder to live through it. But what most people fail to grasp is that every single major economic disaster to hit the world comes with a big fat opportunity bow-tied right next to it. Only trouble is, most people don't recognize that big fat opportunity with a big bow on it. This is the exact reason that Warren Buffett has made more money from trading stocks than anybody else. Mr. Buffett is worth about $73 billion, and he'll openly tell people he made his fortune through buying when others sell and selling when others buy. And that's where the opportunity lies. You see, when everything plummets and the market is lying in tattered ruins like a bloody battlefield, the man who keeps his head and knows where to look can make an astonishingly quick fortune. And trust me, when you're correctly positioned, you actually welcome such financial chaos because you know you're going to make out like a bandit, and you're going to do it legally too. That's what we're hoping for with the next report, that you'll become that guy who keeps his head and makes money hand over fist because he finally recognizes where the real opportunities are, not just the ones that your crooked financial advisor gets backhanders to tell you about. This report is called The Underground Blueprint for Becoming Wealthy in Any Circumstances, and it gives you 15 simple steps to creating more wealth than you probably dared hope for. In this report, you're going to discover where the opportunities lie, even in the worst financial conditions you can imagine. The one commodity that looks set to quadruple in value over the next 18 months to 2 years. The forgotten industry that's fast becoming the ultimate sleeper investment for the savvy entrepreneur. How to get into debt positively and use that debt to make more money. This is a closely guarded secret of the 1%ers, of billionaire investors, and is something most regular people simply don't have access to, and that's why they stay broke. And of course, you'll see how to protect everything you make and keep it safe for future generations, because there's no point getting rich if the government is going to take it all once you die, now is there? Now, I think you'll agree with the cutting-edge information in those 3 reports. It's quite easy to see how you can not only face the coming problems with your head held high, but actually profit from them. You can act on the timely advice in our membership. And at the end of 60 days, you can still get a full refund and still benefit from all of our research for free. Viewed that way, the Iron Wing is taking all the risk here. So please, don't delay any longer. Start your membership to the Iron Wing today with the Flak Jacket Platinum Protection Package, and join us with full peace of mind on the other side. It's been my pleasure. Yours in better timing, Richard Reagan. I'm the co-publisher and senior analyst at the Iron Wing.